Hello, my name is Katherine Nicholson, and I'm going to be talking about the three main psychosocial theories of aging. And these theories examine how people adjust their lifestyles as they get older. So the first theory of aging social scientists developed was in 1961, and it is called the disengagement theory. So the disengagement theory is as people get older, they gradually withdraw from society socially and physically. And there was this video of medical students explaining the disengagement theory, and they thought of it as out with the old and in with the new. So society is continually developing, and with that comes new roles. And most of the time, the younger generations are more qualified for these roles compared to the older generation. For example, being skilled in using technology is something lots of people have to acquire now as technology has been advanced and acclimated into our world. Younger people have grown up with technology and know it better than someone who's born in the 50s and lived majority of their life without technology, and thus takes them longer to learn this skill. And that could be another reason like why people disengage from society, because maybe they feel like, oh, I did my time for the last 20 something years, society is moving on, and I'm just gonna stay in my own little bubble. Like, I did what I did, and I'm good. However, the biggest criticism that's come to this theory is that it does form a negative stereotype about senior citizens. Like, it makes you think like, oh, when you are 60 plus, you're kind of like on a time clock awaiting death, and people view you more as a body than a person. Again, as you see on the photo on the right side, I think of the stereotype as like this glass sand timer. And an example of somebody kind of reinforcing the disengagement theory would be my grandmother on my mother's side. She is 79 and her mobility has greatly declined, so she has withdrawal physically from society, as she doesn't really drive anymore. The only time she'll go out is for appointments, not even to the grocery store. She'll ask me or my mom to go and get groceries for her. So when she's not going to appointments, her day-to-day life is sitting in chair, is like sitting, kind of living in her chair in the living room, and she watches her Western shows and other vintage shows such as MASH or The Waltons. And if she's not doing that, she's on her Kindle scrolling on Facebook. She does think about calling people, but majority of the time she doesn't actually like act on that. So that's how she has very much socially withdrawal as well. So the next theory of aging is the continuity theory. The continuity theory is explained as the older a person gets, the more they will want to preserve how they lived life. And to go more in depth with that, three authors of the scholarly article, the importance of age-friendly city on older people's continuity and life satisfaction, says, quote, as the process in which older adults maintain continuity in the habits, associations, relationships, preferences, activity, attitudes, and behavior that were developed over a lifetime. So it's kind of like the opposite of somebody going out of their comfort zone. They're just going to keep doing what they've always done, like what I did in my 20s, I'm going to do the same thing in my 60s. And that's how they can maintain their self-identity and life satisfaction as well. However, looking back at the scholarly article title that I just mentioned, it focuses on an interesting possible dynamic between how much a city is age-friendly and how it can impact older adults' life satisfaction. Like perhaps if someone is living in a city that's promoting more towards younger people, then maybe they're forced to stay in continuity, or they really do just genuinely are satisfied with how they've been living life for the past 15 years and want to keep on doing that until they no longer can anymore. And an example of somebody doing the continuity theory would be a grandson is showing his grandfather how to use a piece of technology such as an iPhone, and the grandfather isn't responding well. He's confused, he's irritated, doesn't really know how to work an iPhone, so he could probably go on a tangent about how he loved how life was before the age of technology, such as the 1970s, and he'll want to stay with this flip phone because he knows how to use it. It's more comfortable for him. Lastly, we have the active theory. The active theory is explained as older adults can enhance their quality of life by remaining socially active and physically active. An article from the journals of gerontology, which is the study of aging processes and individuals across the life course, called The Relation Between Everyday Activities and Successful Aging. Researchers wanted to see if there is a connection between people participating in things socially and physically, and wanted to see if there was a connection between people participating socially and physically with successful aging. And successful aging is defined as maintaining your physical and mental health, social relationships, and cognitive abilities as you age. Their study indicated that greater levels of activity is correlated to higher levels of happiness, functioning, and reduced mortality. And the article goes more in depth about what specific activities are correlated to functioning, happiness, and reduced mortality. An example of somebody showing the active theory would be my grandfather on my father's side. At the ripe age of 88, he does his best to regularly have game nights with his buddies, and he visits his friends who are in retirement homes. He walks pretty well for someone his age, as he doesn't need a cane. One time I dropped him off at a retirement home so he could go see his friend, and I asked when I should pick him up, and he insisted that there was no need for me to get him, and he was completely okay walking half a mile to a mile or so back home. So he is well above the average physical health of someone his age, and he seems pretty busy compared to someone his age, and it just seems like his life has a little bit more enrichment as he has been very socially and physically active. And how I visualize these theories, like how I can understand them like a little bit more, like how I could picture them, is that there's like on one side of the spectrum you have the disengagement theory, which is where we stereotypically think as somebody's aging, they slowly don't live anymore. Like again, stereotypically they're more as a body than a person. They don't do much things anymore. And then in the middle is a continuity theory where like you're just sticking to how you've always lived. You neither decline or go above. And then on the other end of the spectrum is the active theory where you are exceeding society's expectation of how a mature adult should go about life as they age. And yeah, so I hope that whoever is watching this has learned something new, and thank you so much for watching.